how we have Sadai like even pointing to the illustrations would be a Sadai strategy because you're
right.
giving
But the thing
context.
about this, go over it, is that your Sadai strategies have to be more than this is just Sadai. Oh, I might have used wait time. I'm going to use pictures. Can't say that. It can't be something that you can just drop into any lesson. It's something that's very specific to the child that you are teaching. And that's it's an interesting paradigm that they do that, but they do. It has to be specific to this kid in this lesson, in this content, and in this context. It can't be a drop-in.
So it can't just be, well, I'm going to be using, I'm going to be referring to, while I'm reading the book out aloud, there's going to be a word that's going to be difficult for this EL student, right? And then say, well, I'm going to show there's a picture of whatever that vocabulary is. If so, when there's like a picture of it, wouldn't that just pointing that out is good for all students, not just the EL student?
Right. So it's not specific enough.
Ah, okay, I see your point.
So it's not. See, the thing about EL is good teaching all the way around. But, well, every child benefits from EL. An EL child must have it to benefit. And what they're looking for is not cookie cutter stuff. They're looking to see a teacher who knows these kids and is able to take the data from these kids and use these data to create lessons that will be accessible to these children.
To make the content accessible.
Right, whatever you're teaching will be accessible.
With the intention of looking at that child.
Looking at that child, this class, and so on. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I do like about it is you cannot just drag and drop. You gotta be very specific. Okay, we're in the math task. You should at least see the math person who is teaching this math lesson if you're not teaching it yourself. You don't even have to teach this lesson. You don't have to have help develop the lesson. Oh, that's the, I know what that is. Okay. All you have to have done is know what they taught, how they taught it, and then get the student work to make a formative assessment of the work. Okay. So let's say May taught a lesson, and that's that second lesson in TPA 1, where the teacher said that she used the assessment in the book and all the assessments were like multiple choice. And that's all she did was 5 days worth of multiple choice assessments. And you were given this treasure box filled with these things. How could you rework portions of this lesson so that the students would be able to have access to it and actually improve?
I actually have a math background. I taught middle school math basically on a sub, a long-term sub. So I mean, obviously I'm not a pro, but you know, I did do that. Today in the kindergarten classroom, I did also teach with manipulatives because the child wasn't understanding.
Okay, so that would be the perfect case in point. You taught but you have to talk about the teacher originally taught the lesson X. Mm-hmm. And I analyzed the class, and everybody got it except little Raul, right, or little Johnny, or whoever it happens to be. And now you're going to look at what was his problem. It appears that he didn't understand the number sense. So based on the data that I see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with him. They call this re-engagement. You have to create a re-engagement plan, which means your remediation plan for little Raul. And what you did is you said, I'm going to use manipulatives. And now you have to get through the whole thing. Why manipulatives? What is it going to do that the other thing didn't do? And then you have to video yourself talking to little Raul.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yes, you do. This is not part of the 20 minutes.
This is separate.
This is separate.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is about using data to inform your praxis and then how you re-engage students. It's just like scenario number 2 in TPA 1. Okay. So basically what you're doing here is you're doing all the TPAs all at one time. You're doing TPA 1, 2, 3, and 4 all at one time. Mm-hmm. So now let's get back into here because, oh, you asked me about that video? It's right here. Just go to that website. I have it here. I got it here. It's here. Just go to YouTube and you can see me teaching it in detail. And you'll want to, because there's only so much I can do now without you just going like, oh, I wish you would just shut up because I'm just like full. But, and I get that. I get that. Trust me. That's why I make videos. That's why I make videos. So you can stop and start and stop and start. And that very, very.
So this is through the EdTPA overview video?
Yeah.
That's where the link is, right?
Yeah, and it's under, what am I in? It's under the overview documents.
Okay.
So when you go to overview documents, these are all the subcategories in the overview document. So these are subtabs. Okay. Commentary and literacy context. I'm going to go over the first 2 tasks. Now, the one thing that our trainer told us was you got to nail your commentary because the evaluators read your commentary first. Your commentaries are always your intent to teach. We had to read that first. Now, you see where there are these boxes? These are your check marks. Remember I told you to take what you wrote, put it against this, and then check off. Did you do that? Do I have evidence of that here?
That's what you mean. Okay.
This is what I mean. Everything I'm telling you about, you have access to. Everything. Everything. And if I don't have it, I'll make it and put it up there. I do that so that when I'm not there, you still can find my words or find it to help you. Okay. So your central focus, you have to respond to these prompts no more than 9 single-space pages, including the prompts. So you will fill in something that looks like this. So this tells you about the central focus. You're describing the central focus of the lesson. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back real quick. And I'm going to go to balanced literacy. And I'm going to go to the pairs lesson. And then this is the lesson. Okay, so here it tells you, this is an overview of the lesson. And you see what? It gives you the focus. It gives you the instructional focus. It gives you the reading focus. Everything it's going to ask you, you're going to find right here in a lesson that looks just like this. If you don't want to use this lesson, just use all of these headers.
Right.
And the kinds of things that they do, and you'll be fine. Like here, how are you going to build background? It says, well, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to have the kids do this. They're going to say this. I'm going to say this, and they're going to say that. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that they can use their language. And this is a support for language function. Okay, so that's why at least reading or implementing a lesson like this will give you the experience to be able to deal with, where were we? Is it this one? No, I actually don't want that one anymore. The task. It gives you the central focus of the lesson. In that lesson, it's going to be guided reading. It's a guided reading lesson. And the first part of the lesson is actually building vocabulary. The second part of the lesson is you're using the vocabulary and they're going through the guided reading. And then the third part of the lesson is where they're going into the text to find stuff for the assessment. It's very simple. And it's all spelled out to you so that when you are in it, you say, well, okay, this is what they're going to do. And then This is day 2. Here's your focus for day 2. Day 3, it's guided reading. Here's your instructional focus for day 3. That's day 2, excuse me, that's still day 2. Day 3, here's your instructional focus for day 3. Practice. That's why this is so valuable. Okay. All right, so then you're gonna, again, it asks you, what are the essential literacy strategies, related strategies, reading and writing connections. This is balanced literacy. In the lesson about pairs, they're also going to read about pairs, but they're going to use language in this way, and they're going to use these demands on this language in this way. So everything you're going to do is going to build on one another. I gave you this because this is actually prompting you. You have to say, you have to do this way. We had this is how we learned, okay? I can't go into everything that's here. And if you have a question, you should ask Linda. Now here, supporting literacy development through language. That's going to be number 4. That's a category. These are the different ways you can support literacy development. These are language functions. The verb. You talked about predicting. The kids could predict. Or you could read them the story of the 3 little pigs and the kids could be retelling. But it's up to you what it's going to be. You identify the learning tasks that they're going to be using this in, the context. You identify the demand. How are they going to do this? What's the vocabulary and the target vocabulary and the other vocabulary required in order for them to have access to the surroundings, just being able to access the lesson. And then the syntax, making sure that they're going to say those things in academic complete sentences in their discourse, meaning they want to hear the kids speaking. They want to see that. And then what supports are you going to give them? Those supports could be sentence frames. Supports could be whatever your supports are. I don't know, whatever you do in kindergarten. You know kindergarten better than I do. Kindergarten is just like, I don't get kindergarten. But I'm glad there are wonderful teachers like you who love that grade level. I'm a high school teacher. And then, how are you monitoring the kids throughout? Now, this is really important. It says, describe how your planned formal and informal assessments will provide direct evidence that students can use essential literacy strategies to comprehend or compose text and related skills throughout. So they need to have the kids be able to comprehend whatever it is they're doing or compose text. They can do the comprehension or they can write, but it has to be related. It must be part of what's related throughout. So when they're having discourse, if it's for comprehension, remember, language is a way to exchange ideas. When you understand a concept, then you can put labels on the concept through words. This morning I was talking to a student and I said, okay, this was like first graders. I said, maybe you want to explain the concept of love. Well, you could go into, well, love is this affection that you feel for another person that causes serotonin and dopamines to be infused in your brain and blah, blah, blah. Or you could say to the kids, is there something in your life, like your mom or your dad or your best friend or a dog, that when you see that, you are so happy and it makes you feel so warm that you feel almost like a warm chocolate chip cookie? Can you visualize that person? Maybe it's your abuelita, maybe it's your abuelito. If I had somebody who spoke Vietnamese, I'd find out how to say grandmother and grandfather in Vietnamese, just so that it demonstrates that I'm doing more to relate to my children. And I say, I want you to think about that. And I want you to put your arms around yourself so that you just feel like you're just hugging and you feel so warm around that person. Then and you feel warm and you feel that, So, well, that's called love. That feeling is love. That's the way you feel when you see someone. So now they have the concept of love and the word. Now what I want them to do in the story or whatever we're doing, or because it was Valentine's Day, I want them to write a Valentine poem or draw a Valentine picture or whatever it is, or I'm going to read them a story about Valentine love. That's a key target word, love. Maybe the other target word is Valentine, but there are also going to be other words that they need to know. Throughout this, how are they demonstrating their comprehension? Verbally, in discourse, that they understand the story and love within the story. That's where the and related skills throughout the learning segment. What questions am I going to ask them to continue their talk, their discourse around love, what it means in the story, who loves who, or whatever the story's about? You get what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're trying to make the abstract concrete.
But throughout the lesson, I'm demonstrating that when they speak, they're demonstrating they understand the content, the context, and the syntax. And they can use the language properly and appropriately to communicate.
Probably have to do formative assessments throughout the lesson.
Yeah, that's what you're doing. Informal. You can do formal if you want, but basically it's a form. So that those checks for understanding and the usage of language. You could say, turn and talk to your partner, but I want you to start with, I love my because. I love my dog because, and they just share. Well, that's sharing. That's the discourse. Okay.
Yeah, I did something that, okay, show me your thumb, a quiet thumb, and I'll, see if they get it, if, you think that the main character is this person. If you thought that, then put your quiet thumb to your chest.
Okay.
So that would be like a form of.
But let me tell you something. You would do that and I would mark you down. You want to know why? Because I got 50-50 chance of being, yeah, I get this or I don't. All you really have checked is, do I know how to put my thumb on my chest? Because you never asked me, what do I understand? You have no idea what they understand because you never asked them. The only thing you know that you can measure is that they can put their thumb on their chest. I don't have a problem with this, but I have a problem that you didn't ask them, okay, Johnny, you blah, blah, blah. You have your thumb there. What is it that you understand about this?
So then, that extra step.
Yeah, you have to do. This means nothing. Teachers do that all the time. And I can guarantee you, your evaluator is going to mark you down because that's not an effective check for understanding because you haven't a clue. You don't know what they know because you never asked. But see, when you ask Johnny what he understands, when Johnny responds to you, he is going to speak in whatever the language demand is in a comprehensible way that is related to this lesson throughout the entire lesson segment. Shush. I'm going to put you out. I know those are your dogs, but you be quiet. He's in the dog house, actually.
Oh.
Okay, so this is task 1, planning the commentary. That's your check to see, did I do what I was supposed to do? Then there is, back here, task 2, which is the literacy component. Literacy context for learning information. Now you're talking about the kids, where you are, the classroom segment. You're going to talk about the class of the students in general, what is happening, the number of males and females in the class, things that you should be considering. They're going to talk about kids that have IEPs and 504s. You're going to talk about kids that have special needs. How many do you have? These are examples of what you would put. That is the context of your classroom. This is task 2, which is the introduction for the video. Everything, this is all about task 2. Again, it walks you right through what you have to do. Here is task 3, which is the literacy assessment commentary. You taught this lesson, you planned this lesson here. You explain what the kids are like and everything here. Then you teach the lesson in 2, you assess the lesson in 3. Okay? And this is talking about the assessment and what it should look like. It's very specific. See that down here, language is everything. You have to have a language-rich, balanced environment where the kids are doing the majority of the talking. The kids are engaged. That means you're really only going to teach them for about 10 minutes. That's about it before they just like get squirrely and don't want to listen to you anymore. And then they can go into doing something else. They can go into the independent practice or something, but you only get really 10 really good minutes of teaching them because their brain's going to shut off after 10 minutes. These are kindergartners, their brain's going to shut off after about 7 or 8 because that's just developmentally appropriate for them. And then task 4, again, it tells you what it is you need to do. Okay? These are your guides that your check to make sure that you've done what you said you were going to do. Okay, where am I? Balanced literacy. All right. I just put that one there. Oh, that's the same overview document. All right, that's the same thing. Okay. Okay, now let me see. Did I put them in the balanced literacy or not? So I taught this the first time. Oh, I know there's one piece there's a document I did not show you. This is the lesson plan template that we encourage you to use. The LPA is not going to work. This lesson plan template is the one that's recommended from the state.
Okay.
Okay, so when you look at this template, you'll see how it actually relates to what you're doing. And you see how would students independently practice and so on. It gives you prompts. So this is the template. Now, let me get to, let me see, I thought it was in here. I'm trying to think, did I put it in here? Let me just go where I know I can find it. Oh, I know what I did. That's why I can't. Hold on. No. Training. EIE training. That one. Those are, yeah. Hold on. EdTPA lesson document. This is the junk that they've been sending us. One more thing. Looking for the one that says elementary. All right, here we go. All right, these are the rubrics, and I want to go over these because you need to understand the rubrics. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a link to this file so you'll be able to look at these rubrics and you'll be able to look at the commentaries and everything that we used in our training. We can share that with you. That's not a forbidden. Because if it was forbidden, then I could get into a lot of trouble, but those are the only examples they had that we could use. Okay, here's rubric 1. There are 5 rubrics just in task 1. The first part of task 1. So you'll see this one is the context for learning information, planning commentary. The commentaries have to be spot on. the commentaries that you will see here, the very first one from the candidate that we're looking at, and you should know that that candidate was actually out of state, so she doesn't have any ELLs in her classroom because I think she was from Denver or something.
Honey, someone's at my door. I'm going to sign out now.
Okay, talk to you later, May.
I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Her commentaries for task 1 and her planning for task 1 were in the 4-5 area. It's a very good example. The other commentaries and planning, not so much. You can look and see what she did, but one of them was barely a 3. So I just want you to know the examples are not, the only one that's a stellar example is the very first one. So these are the 5 categories. This is the passing category. You want to make sure that you understand what they're saying that you have to do. Pay close attention to the ors, and ands. So when this one just says you're going to do 2 things, comprehend or compose text. But it also says, and it's not very clear. Let me see if I can at least make it a little clearer. There we go. It also says with clear connection to related skills. So that would mean that if you're doing some kind of math and they have to, I don't know, all I can think of is regrouping, and I know kindergartners don't do it. They need to know number sense as well. They need to know addition in addition to the regrouping. So that's what it means. They have clear connections to related skills in order to make whatever it is you're doing work. They need to know how to write incomplete sentences in order to write that paragraph. Here it says that they're doing that, one of these 2, and they have consistent connections to the related skills. That means it's almost every single time. And this one says that the candidate explains that she will use the learning task and materials to lead students to independently apply the essential literacy strategies and related skills. This is exemplary. This is good. This is proficient. So this is advanced and this is great. This list down here is not a comprehensive list, but it is representative of what the evaluators will be looking for in your writing. But I want to emphasize, this is not comprehensive. It is just a sample of some of the things. So to get a 3, they're going to be looking to see, is everything aligned with your outcome? Are you building from one thing to the next, or are you unbalanced? Over here, they're going to be looking for, you did everything over here, plus you're doing these things, or similar things. And that's how you read these. This is actually a scoring document. This is where they will actually put your scores. And you see, they're really only concerned about emerging, proficient, and advanced. Okay, so every single one, you see that there are 30 of these things? Every single one of them is structured the same. They will tell you what they're for. This one, again, primary source of evidence. This is the context. This is task 1, rubric 2, planning to support varied student learning needs, and so on. Any question about how to read these rubrics?
No.
Okay. I really don't want to beat you over the head with them because they're pretty standard. Okay. Now, the task itself. This is the context. Yeah, okay. This is her commentary.
Okay.
She had her own lesson plan. So here we have elementary literacy, task 1, planning instruction and assessment. This is your intent to teach.
Right, right.
Okay? This is how this student responded to the prompts. So this one is really well done. Okay? Oh, excuse me, that's just part of it. That is still well done. Then she has, is this the first one instruction? I'm trying to find, here it is. This must be the commentary. Oh, nope. Yeah. Here are some of your goals, and what are your goals for the student learning and why are they appropriate? Rationale and context, prior knowledge and concepts.
I see how she's even like a reference Beers 2003.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's specific to, and it was an appropriate reference. You can't just drop names in here. When you say something and you say Howard Gardner, they have to be able to relate what you said to Howard Gardner. These are very, very, here are the standards, the academic language demands. Okay. What does exceeds expectation look like? Meets expectation, below expectation. So she really did a really good job here. How is she going to close the lesson? Differentiations and extensions. So what ifs, resources and materials. And this just goes on and on because you see, this is now lesson 2 of 3. This is the second day of the lesson. She has to write this whole thing up once again. And then it's lesson 3 of 3 because it's a 3-day lesson. So let's see if I can get us down to there are 18, okay. Then she has, yeah, okay. So she wrote her lessons. This is her instruction. So these are the materials for her instruction. This is what they were going to do. These are her student samples. This is her PowerPoint that she used. This is a graphic organizer. Use graphic organizers. Even if your kindergartners are going to they're going to put pictures in a category or something like that. Do use something that is tangible, that language. When you use graphic organizers in language, you are demonstrating a necessary skill in the brain for the student to be able to find this information later. So then she shows the rubric she's going to use in order to grade their papers. Then she shows the papers. So this is everything she's going to use in the lesson itself. And then the student work. And then she takes this work and analyzes this work. Here is the task planning guide. And this is where she writes her plan. This is the lesson plan. This is where she is doing more of the intent. And this is what they're looking at. And there are how many pages for this one? 4. There are 10 pages.
4 was just intent.
What?
4 pages is just intent.
No, 10 pages. See, this is 2 of 10.
Okay, but 10 pages for the first part.
Well, all of these things relate to different tasks. See, within task 1, before you even teach, you have to write up all these tasks.
Right.
Profile of the class, what the assessment's going to look like, all your instructional materials, and the lesson plan, as well as the lesson plan as it relates to your profile of the class. Your profile of the class, the commentary, you got to nail your commentary. And it'll say planning commentary. It says it right on there, planning commentary. EL1, planning commentary.
So can I access this?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the link. This I'll give you the link for.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to send it directly to you. So what you need to do is send me an email, and then I will give this link I will share. Or actually, before we go, I'll just go ahead and share it. You can give me the email while we're here.
Okay.
Okay, now that was just task 1.
Okay.
There's task 2 and task 3. We do not have information for task 4. You have to get the task 4 information from the handbook and from the outline that I gave you in the live binder.
That's the math, right?
The math, right. Okay? But the same things are here. In these tasks, they go through the same stuff. I do give you the videos so that you can see this woman teach. Now, you have to remember, she was really strong in her planning. After you read what she wrote for her planning, you need to see what the instruction looked like.
Right.
Her instruction match her planning. And then she writes this up, which is the commentary for the plan for the lesson, for the video clips. See, clip 1 and 2 are recorded during lesson 1 of the learning segment. But this is a 3 or 4 day lesson, and she only worked on day 1. So everything she's going to talk about is going to be day 1. Okay?
Yeah, that's still confusing me.
Okay, tell me what's confusing.
That clip 1 and 2 were recorded during lesson 1.
Yes. Yes.
And that's sufficient.
Yes.
So if I say just did 1 day of recording, that's enough?
Yes.
I was always thinking 3 days means 3 days. It's
No,
not
the lesson segments. So you're doing an entire event, a unit or whatever you want to call it. They call it an event.
Yes.
So in that event, there are 3 segments or 5 segments.
Right.
You have to write up the plan for every single one of those segments. But you can video any part of the segments that you want, but you can only do 2 videos.
So basically the 10 pages that she wrote were for 10 minutes of video.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
So she wrote all of that stuff to demonstrate 10 minutes of her ability to teach. Or actually, she has 12 minutes of her ability to teach. Within that 12 minutes, she said, this is what I'm going to be doing. I wrote these lessons and said, this is what I'm going to do. Now she's talking about, okay, I've got it all together. I'm doing this. And she says, you're going to see me do this and do that. And what she does is she looks at herself teach now. And she says, all right, when I did this, here's where the evidence of the students being engaged. Here's the evidence of where the students are, I'm making the content relevant. The stories about the dogs. And you can tell that the students were engaged and connected to it by the way that they responded when I asked them questions, or how they were all attentive and listening carefully.
So it's not like an observation where we take that movie clip and then we put comments on it and say at this specific moment this, and this specific moment this.
You're looking at patterns in your practice.
So basically we take the whole clip. We're not doing commentary, like live commentary. You know how we do it?
No, on it there. No, you're going to see, look at what she did here.
And then we're just going to write everything out.
Right. Here's explain how your instruction engaged students in developing an essential literacy strategy and related skills. Remember, this is still about literacy. And she wanted them to do this inference thing and differentiation. Well, one of the things is during her practice, she had the wrong definition for differentiation. Mm-hmm. And so that gave her a ding because it showed she didn't know her content. Mm-hmm. All right, but here she says, instruction throughout the lesson, motivating and engaging. Okay, she can say that, but what is motivating and engaging? So what's the evidence in the clip?
Yeah.
Okay, there are a variety of students willing to participate in the whole class discussion. Well, did you actually see that in the video? Well, yeah, they were raising their hands and they were, okay, we give you credit for that. I made sure to call on a variety of students that were eager to participate. Yeah, okay, well, you actually did that. Unfortunately, when you look at it, she was calling on many of the same students all the time, and she was basically calling on students who were raising their hands. And some of the students were completely disengaged.
And what do you do with those kids?
Well, that's what you have to do. You can't just ignore the fact that those kids are there. You have to speak to, what did this video show you? Here it says, how did you, the question is, refer to the example, how your instruction engaged the students in developing the skill. Okay, here she says, at the clip at 6 minutes and 23 seconds, during the PowerPoint, I projected 2 different cartoons. And when she did the cartoons, the kids really perked up. The kids really did laugh. The kids really did engage. That was one of the few times the kids truly engaged. She tells the observer, the evaluator, if they need to go back, where they're going to see that in the video, because that is really a good piece of evidence. But then it says, let me see where it goes. Describe your instruction linked prior knowledge, deepening student learning during instruction. Explain how you elicited and built on whatever it is you did. But if you notice that you have kids that need additional support, you can't just ignore the fact, because you're analyzing your teaching. This is what changes would you make in your instruction? I noticed that looking at the video, there were 3 kids that were disengaged. I think I should have, and based on theory or whatever, this is what I need to do. This is how I need to do things. Consider the variety of learners in your class that may require different strategies.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So whatever she was doing for those 3 kids wasn't working. And it could be, I think I was talking too much. Those kids need to have more X. Okay? That's your analysis. So you can't ignore stuff. And what happened is she didn't really look at her video closely because she did most of the talking.
That's always a danger.
That's always a danger. If you're doing the talking, then the kids are not using language. But that's bottom line. Okay. So that's task 2. And then task 3. Same thing, the assessment. Here's the assessment piece. So you're analyzing the student work, and here it's like, okay, so what the whole class do, what your target kids do, what are you going to need to do? And then it asks you to create a recording of yourself working with those kids to clarify and to re-engage them. Okay? And that's what she did her second one on, was the kids using whatever the inferences and the differentiation or whatever it was. But that's her second clip, was them applying knowledge. Okay. That was her choice. Okay. And then here's her evidence. So you'll get, let's do this right now. Hold on. When you get in here, you're going to want, you can look at anything that's in here, but this is where you're going to find all those tasks, elementary literature. Literacy. This is just another lesson on tigers. This is a PowerPoint. If you want to go through it, it's a good PowerPoint, but it relates to the lesson on tigers. But what I do like is that she really gets into the planning, so she gets into the language, okay, for the tasks, especially the demands. The language demands, not the central focus, the big ideas, and the language demands. This is gigantic. You really have to know the components of it and then design the lesson opportunities for them to use it. So, and then she shows how that works in this Reading A to Z lesson on tigers. So if you want, you can look and see what she's written, and then you can also parallel it against the lesson on tigers. Okay. That's also in here, right? It's right there. The Reading A to Z piece. And it's short, it's just these 2 pieces. Here's the guided reading part. Here's the Common Core supplement part. Okay? So let me go out and get to make sure I get the right one.
So I think I'm just going to do a dry run tomorrow.
I want to make sure I'm giving you the right one. I don't want to give you the wrong one.
A lot of information.
It's way too much information. That's why I do the, all right, so it's this one. Just making.
Well, I've read a lot of it. I've read a lot of it before, but at the same time, like all the student examples, that's very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Read through that, planning, and just like having an actual example in front of you, saying, okay, this is a exemplary work, and what the language used in that is, and just to see that is, I think, would be very valuable. Do you see my? I gave you my email.
So this is, yeah, give me your email.
I did. It's in the Zoom chat.
Oh, just hand it to me right now. I'm writing it down so I can send this to you. Right this second, give it to me.
AFHA.
I got it. There you go.
Me.
And share with others. All right, I just sent you that file.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a shame not other people joined.
Well, they can come tomorrow. And it's better when you have other people. But I do want you to know that this video that you find right in here, this video right here, I look like crap because I just came from the gym and I had like 3 minutes. The things that I walk you all the way through it. Relate. You can see it's a really long video, TPA 3 it's and got TPA 4. Just so you can just see. I walk one commentary. I start here, so and I just walk you all the way through. And or
are those your students or?
Yes. You're going to give this child. Just one of the things that I keep reiterating in here that you choose is remember provide a graphic to be specific to this class in this lesson at this time. That specificity is the difference between passing and failing. Yeah. Okay. And she continued to reiterate that to us, is that
specificity.
The specificity is the only way that you're going to it's the only way that you're going to pass it, because they have to have that you have to demonstrate that
that's measurable as well, right? Like
that's your measurable outcome.
Measurable outcome. If you're not specific, it's not measurable.
Right, but nothing should be drag and drop.
But I did like the point that you said when you look at the thumbs up signal, like you have to do another point after that. Yeah,
right.
You just can't stop at the thumbs up because it's not specific.
It's not specific. It just shows you. I like to let a lot of times I ask teachers, okay, you had kids copy all this stuff down and put it in this on this piece of paper at the end of the lesson, and the whole time the teacher's talking and the kids are copying and putting stuff down, and then I say, tell me what you were able to measure. And they said, well, the kids know how to do X. And I say, how do you know that? And the teacher will say, well, they wrote all this stuff down on this piece of paper. And I said, who told them what to write? And they'll say, I did. And what did they do? Did they generate that themselves or did they copy it? And the teacher says they copied it. I said, that's the only thing you have measurable. Can these kids copy from the overhead to this piece of paper? You have no way of knowing if they know it, because that is not what you measured.
So I'm confused about the main thing. Like if you have something measurable, and like in kindergarten, we don't have a lot of worksheets that are coming out to the students. Okay, there's not a lot of worksheets that we're giving to the students. Some of them are still struggling. A few of them are still struggling even with writing, So then comes the question of, like, a lot of the assessments I've seen my mentor do are formative.
Okay, let me tell you how you can get around this. And a class can be 4 kids.
Huh?
A class can be 4 children.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
All right, so if a class is 4 kids, and they're in kindergarten, you write down what it is you are going to observe, because your measurement is observable. because they're kindergartners. So when you do X, this is the behavior that the kid should have as Y. And you have to then say, meets expectations, exceeds expectation, does not meet expectation. You have to be very specific. This is the behavior that I'm going to be able to measure. So if you ask the kids, tell me, you're doing retelling, and you just say, I'm going to read you a little short story about Jack Rabbit, and I'm going to read this page for you, and you're going to retell to me, and then you're going to retell it over here to Joe. And Joe, you're going to listen to the retell, and you're going to retell it back to Alice. Okay? So what's observable? Their ability, what would meets expectation look like? They can tell me that there's a rabbit on the page and that the rabbit hopped.
Okay.
Okay. Exceeds expectations is they can tell me there's a rabbit on the page. It hopped quickly as it went and stole carrots.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. You have to be that specific.
And if I can break down, take those 4 students that are my key students,
Right.
Take in a small group and say, you know what, to my mentor teacher, I need to work with them.
Yeah.
And then record us 4. That's totally possible. And then that would be more measurable.
Yep.
And,
especially for you, because yours are going to be behaviors. And your languages are going to be retelling, listening, and then retelling again.
So I'm going to be doing a whole class presentation tomorrow based on this story from A to Z.
All right.
Then I'll take my small group later on and record that session. So I'm just going to introduce the story tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so that would be, I guess, my day 1. I'm not going to record this one because it'll be with 27 students, like both of the kindergartner classes together. Then, but when the smaller group, that's when I'll be able to really do targeted, specific, intentional teaching.
Okay.
To whatever the worksheet is I have in front of me, or if it's something that I need to assist them with, you know, I can be able to put the proper strategies in order for them to get it, get the concept and access the content. So yeah, I think that's doable then. That was just, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this with?
Yep, you do this all the time, but it's figuring out, how do I condense this down? How do we're asking you to step back and look at what you do. Step back and look at what you do.
I've been doing that as a term 3 student. Every single day when I go into the classroom, I look at my teacher, my mentor teacher. So I'm not doing it myself. When I'm looking at my mentor teacher, I'm like looking at, okay, what is she doing? And then what standards is she implementing during this lesson? Why did she decide to present this teaching strategy, not another teaching strategy, to this particular student at this particular time? And so I'm doing that. And then I'll talk to her afterwards and say, well, did you do it because of this? Or did you do it because, I think it was really brilliant the way you did this. And so then we talk about her teaching strategies and her intentionality. And I just confirm that I got it right, that, you know, that I did get what she, and you know, so that's been very helpful for me to prepare for this.
What I would suggest you do, this is what I'm going to suggest that you do. As you work through this lesson, record everything that you do. You could start out with whole class. Remember, you could have, I mean, if you wanted to, I'm just showing as an example, you could start out with whole class introducing the story, introducing the vocabulary, introducing the concept, whatever that is. You could do that whole class. But then the next day, which is day 2, you're sitting with your 4 students.
Okay.
And that is now that direct instruction to these kids based on what you did the day before. You see how you can do something on one day and then do it on the next day? One was just a whole class thing because it was, you have to explain why you decided to do that whole class instead of small group. And one of the things is when it's whole class, they have more exchange. The kids like to listen to the stories anyway. So we do these whole class. So this is just part of their routine. But the lesson now is going to be just with these 4 kids, a high, medium, low, and your ELD kids. That's all you got to have.
Okay.
That's all you got to have. So that's how you can have one thing on one day and something else on the other day.
So like the whole lesson might take me 20 minutes tomorrow just to read through the whole story.
But you don't have to show 20 minutes of it.
I just show 5 and I'm good.
You can show, what you do is you show the best of that lesson. Let's say, because they're really, language is gigantic. So you show how you are building the vocabulary on that day. You're doing you're reading, you have words already written out, you're putting them on the whiteboard as you talk about what the words are. You have a picture to go with the word, you're putting that on the whiteboard. As you go through, there's certain words that you're asking the kids to call in response to. You're doing games around vocabulary. You're asking the kids to use the vocabulary. You read the story, but you're also doing all this vocabulary development. You can just show them the part of the vocabulary development around the story.
Right. We don't have to read the story and have that recorded.
You don't have to read the whole story, but because what you want to showcase is the vocabulary development.
The development, and that's the intentionality. And again,
right. That's the balanced literacy.
Yeah.
And so then the next day you go back to the story because now the language function for the kids is retelling.
Okay.
And now they don't have to worry about the vocabulary, but you still are going to go ahead and, you're going to teach the lesson, but you don't have to show the whole lesson. You show the best. So that's why I'm saying record everything. Mm-hmm. Look at it and then say, that is really good. They're engaged. It's relevant, blah, 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 and then go back and write your commentary.
Based on those.
Yep. Based on that snippet.
That snippet, that continuous snippet.
Yes.
That you've chosen.
Yes.
Okay.
The two snippets. Do pick the video, write the commentary. You already know the lesson plan. Because you had to have a lesson plan in order to be standing up there in front of the kids to start out with.
Okay.
Okay. Do the video, then go back, pick the best. So just do everything. They don't know. You could say you're doing a 3-day lesson and just do 1 day. They don't know. There's no EdTPA police that come out and did you really have a 3-day lesson on that day? They just want to see you write up a 3-day lesson. That's all.
And they just want to see your intentionality.
That's right. That's all.
Process.
Okay. Does that kind of help you kind of get it in perspective?
Yeah, it does. Not as scared of it as I thought.
It's just hecka big, as they say. You got to write your butt off.
I think it's just understanding the steps. I think this is what this Zoom session is about, is to try to understand the steps involved. And if you understand the steps involved, then hopefully that's the beginning point,
That's the beginning point. Mm-hmm.
And then if you understand the tools available to you and the resources available to you, mm-hmm. then I could always reference those resources even when you're not there alive.
Right. And do go to the TPA section on the website. Those handbooks are phenomenal. Yeah. There's in the elementary handbook, they actually tell you what to do.
Yeah. I was
step by step. So definitely do that.
Yeah.
But tonight, don't do anything else tonight. It looks like you got a headache. You need to go get some water. You need to eat. What you need to do now is just not do anything. Think about tomorrow, just getting yourself ready for tomorrow. But don't think about this right now. It's too much. Your brain is fried. You're going to sleep on it, and you're going to have clarity tomorrow as you start actually implementing. Trust me, you will.
I'm just kind of scared that I haven't really written my lesson plan yet. And I mean, the master teacher is like, well, we could do this. You could do this tomorrow. And of course, I want to do this as soon as possible. But the thing is, I don't feel like I'm prepared, with all the thinking part before I go. So I have to read the lesson plan in its entirety before, and then choose which portions I'm going to implement, which strategies I want to implement. Once I have that, then I can sleep.
Well, I'm going to give you a suggestion. If you're introducing tomorrow and it's a book, you're going to start with vocabulary and concept. That's where you're going to start. Because without vocabulary, language is the ability to communicate ideas.
Yes.
Okay? So first you want to make sure they're going to understand the concepts of whatever is going to take place in this book. Because they're little tiny kids. They don't have abstract thought yet. Some are almost, they really don't. If they can understand the concept and then given the vocabulary to communicate their ideas about these concepts, now they can scaffold. Now language has a purpose. So why do you love your grandmother?
There's like a high frequency words that they've given during the lesson. In the lesson plan, there's high frequency words. I'm going to go over those. And then I'm going to go over, I think there was something else that they had.
You have target vocabulary.
Target vocabulary. So go through those words as well.
Right. And I got to tell you, tomorrow, if all you do is the vocabulary and then you just say, okay, we're going to do this book walk and I'm only going to read you the first 3 pages, then that's all you do tomorrow. Because you can't make those kids sit while you struggle through, they've already been sitting doing this vocabulary stuff. And now you're going to make them do another 20 minutes of listening to you read the story? It's too much.
But my mentor said, let's Xerox page. We did the double-sided books.
Okay, I don't know how big the story is, so
It's a 10-page story. And then she goes, we're going to have them color later on. So each page I'm going to go through with them before they color, and that's how we're going to be doing the story walk, basically.
I like for students to color, but I always like my color to have purpose. Color helps improve memory, because if you choose, if I'm asking you to do something and you make a choice, I'm going to do the rabbit purple. Well, then why did you pick purple? Because purple is my favorite color and I really like rabbits. When I have to recall rabbits, I have like 5 different ways to find it in my brain. I can think about a rabbit and visualize one. I can think about the color purple and go to a rabbit. You want to have as many brain connections, as many dendrites and pathways to information. Now, because little kids like to color, it to me is not enough. Sometimes I just want them to color. I got no problems with that. But I would say something like, I want you to look back through this book, because you want them to be engaged with the text.
So
But let me finish my sentence. I want you to look back through this book, and I want you to find the one page that you like the best. And I want you to color that page. And then we're going to tell our elbow partners why we like this page. Now I'm using language, I have purpose, and I have coloring, which is something they like to do. But just coloring the book does not help them remember, because there's no purpose to it. It's just an activity. It's enjoyable, but it doesn't link to anything.
And tell you, yeah.
Okay.
You have speaking, communicating, collaborating, communicating.
That's right. Look through the book. We've already gone through it. Now in this story, I want you to pick the page you like the best in the whole story. And then I want you to color that page. And then we're going to do a little turn and talk before we leave. That's the close of the lesson. We're going to do a little turn and talk before we leave. And what you're going to do is first, you're going to tell your partner why you like this page the best. And you're going to start your conversation with, I like this page the best in the story because, and they tell their partner, and then partner, you're going to repeat what your person said. They're using language. It's there. You're not doing, and you're going to say, I heard you say you like that page because, And now they're using the language. And then you have them switch. B partner tell A. And you can listen to them talk. And you can assess what they are and are not able to do. And now everything had a purpose. Coloring's nice, but it's not enough.
Okay.
It's just like this. This is not enough.
Right.
Oh, you can't even see what I did. I did that.
Like a thumbs up.
The thumbs up. It's just not enough. It's a start, but it's not enough. So that's just something for you to think about when you have your own practice. I'm not going to tell you to do something that your mentor teacher doesn't want, but tell her for this, because I'm doing this for my EdTPA, I actually want to use this strategy. Now you have a strategy and an activity that makes sense, and she'll say why. It's because I don't want them to use a lot of time to color everything, and I want them to use language, and I have a language demand, which is telling and retelling. Listening and speaking. I want them to tell, and then I retell, and then I want them to retell, listen, and then summarize what's the other person. So you write the language demand. Now it's very specific, and you actually are helping children develop language.
And there's also builds relevance to the story. And
that's right.
Making connection to the literacy.
Because even before you start, you say, we're going to read this story. And as we read this story, I want you to start thinking about what part of this story did you like the best. But you got to remember, before you leave the story, after you've done whatever it is you're going to do, you have to go through the book and just review it with the kids and do some things like discourse. I'm going to ask the kids what are some of the things they remember about the pages, because they can't read just yet. And they could tell you, and then say, okay, now we just reviewed. I want you to pick the page you like.
I do have access as a free trial subscriber to A to Z, the discussion cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be using the discussion cards.
That's perfect. But remember syntax in the discussion. Say it like a scholar.
Okay.
And you can let them say it like a kindergartner and then say it like a scholar.
Correct. Yeah, say, well, I want you to say it, and give them the sentence frame, and then tell them to complete the sentence, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Davison. It's been
Keep it small, clean, and uncomplicated. And even though that lesson says do X, keep it cleaner than that. Just what we talked about right now. You build vocabulary one day, you go review the story with the 4 kids the next day, you're going to have them retell, engage in the text, find a page they like, and then talk to their other person. There you go. You got a whole lesson right there. That's retelling. You have a language demand. And then the following thing, I don't know what the last day would be, but you're just on your way. That's very easy to do. Then you go back and write the commentary.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I know it was long. Thanks for hanging in there.
Oh, no. It's all right. All right. Take care.
Good night.